Welcome to Unaccountable, the world's okayest game show for accounting news, education, and product updates. I am your app enthusiast host, Tyler Otto, and I'm joined by my budgetary bromance, Jeremy Van Grohl. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am in that final crunch of getting ready for QuickBooks Connect, and I know this isn't going to air for a couple of weeks, so by that point, we're going to have plenty to tell people about, but the crunch is real, getting ready to be out of the office.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad most of these major organizations that cater to accounting know not to start it in the first couple weeks of the month anyway, but you still have to just get everything out if you want to have any kind of downtime as an owner and be present at the conference.
Absolutely. You feel like being out of office would be so relaxing. It's not.
It's not
But
some days.
All that being said, we have an awesome episode today because we have an amazing guest coming up, but I don't want to spoil that surprise. So I feel like the only thing we can do is sprint as quickly as possible into getting him into the show. Shall we?
Let's do that. Let's talk a little bit of news quick, though. I don't know if again, we stay away from politics things on the most part, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you follow this Trump case very closely, where he's inflated some of his balance sheet assets in order to get better loans, and now is getting called out on it. And I particularly didn't like this week how right away claimed that his external accountants were at fault for this misvaluation of his assets.
Oh, absolutely. We're always the scapegoat. And again, you and we will never try to have political leanings here, but sometimes we have to talk about political figures. Right. And you're right. I think just any business owner, this is always the thing we go up against, where they want things a certain way until it's time for repercussions of bad numbers. And now it's the accountant's fault.
Yeah, somebody's got to be the scapegoat every time.
Oh, absolutely brutal. And even teaser, we'll be revisiting this topic because there are some great audio bites that came from this whole trial so far.
Oh, love it.
Jeremy, I don't know if you saw, but quick question for you. Let's put this in a game show format.
Okay.
If you had to guess what the tax gap was, because it is just reported by the IRS for the year 2021, would you guess greater or less than $700 billion?
One clarifying question. This is individuals, businesses, everybody.
Yes, this is the tax gap.
The complete tax gap, greater or less than $700 billion? Oh, I'm going to have to go greater.
I'm sorry, Jeremy. You were close, though. It is $688 billion for the year 2021. So essentially, for those of you who aren't aware what the tax gap is, it is what the IRS thinks the difference is between what has been paid in taxes and what they are owed in taxes. And $688 billion is a lot of cheddar. What's really interesting is, first and foremost, Jeremy, the IRS in the past has always released this number in an aggregate of 3 years. They've always been, hey, for the period of, and then these 3 years.
Yeah. This
is the first time they've ever released it for a single year. And they say they're going to keep doing this going forward. So now we can track year over year instead of this rolling average number. But some key things to highlight of that $688 billion, the smallest amount was underpayment. Failure to pay taxes owed was $68 billion, so 10%.
Yeah.
Then we had $77 billion for non-filing, failure to file a required tax return. So another 10-11%. The other 542 is from underreporting or inaccurate tax returns. So 80% of the entire tax gap, they think, is from underreported tax income, or they don't say this in here, but to me, that kind of sounds like fraud, either negligent or intentional.
Oh, yeah, and I agree with that, and none of this surprises me. But then you wonder why they still are cutting funding. Even this week, I believe the House bill came through where they put all sorts of things towards the whole Middle Eastern thing that's going on, but said cut IRS funding. And if you can get back less than $700 billion, what is the return on investment there?
No, this is the thing that killed me, because I used to do budgets for large hotel companies, and I loved whenever things started getting tight and they were just like, well, let's cut salaries in the sales department, right? And I, as the finance guy, we would always say, no, we do not cut that staff. And they're just like, well, they've got so many people, whatnot. And like, you do not, as a result of not having enough revenue, say we're going to cut what brings in revenue. And they always thought it was weird for the finance guy to say that let's keep spending money on something that doesn't directly attribute to the guest experience. But no, you need that sales stuff to keep money coming in. Essentially, you're turning off the hose. I view the IRS kind of as our country's sales department, where we need them bringing in the money. You don't cut the people that keep the hose on, the faucet running. Get that money in.
Oh, yeah. And there's like not 7 million other ways to cut expenses on the other side. But like, yeah, a small investment there should turn itself over 8 or 9 times if you get somebody as a good agent going after these things. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, how many times do you get in on a new client set of books and you're like, well, you're profitable, but this 8 million in accounts receivable seems to be the problem. How about we collect on that? I feel like it's the same thing right here. How about we collect on that?
And maybe hire a credit manager. I love it.
Well, Jeremy, I'm excited for this part of our episode because we have our second ever guest. And man, like, we're moving up in the world. Today, we are joined by the great Ben Stein. Ben, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here.
I didn't know if we could outdo our first guest, but we at least got it at the same level.
Well, just to be mentioned in the same echelon as Alyssa is truly an honor.
Problem is now it's all downhill from here with our social circle.
Yeah, I was like, this is what we aspire to, knowing it'll never happen.
Well, Ben, for those of you that aren't familiar with you, because they haven't listened to me gush about your product end on end ad nauseum, would you want to introduce yourself real quick to our listeners?
Sure thing. Thank you, Tyler. So I'm Ben. I'm the CEO of Keeper. In case you haven't heard of Keeper, we are a month-end close manager. So it's a suite of tools to help bookkeepers and accountants streamline their month-end close. The way we do that is Keeper connects directly to your client's QuickBooks or Xero file, so we can pull all data out of that file, push all data back in, and help you automate rote work like asking your clients uncategorized transaction questions or requesting statements every month. Also help you with a month-end review, help you deliver better advisory-focused reporting, and then also track any missing vendor documentation and request that information so that you can make 1099 season not such a pain in January.
I've talked about you on this podcast already. Anyone who has been on a YouTube channel or anything I've done, like, I love your product. And I don't want to quelch the excitement over it, but spoiler, we're going to get into this during our app snack. So instead, Ben, I want to put you through the gauntlet before we get into talking a bit more about Keeper. And we are going to run you through Fast Figures. Now, for those who haven't listened before, Fast Figures is our game where we put a minute-ish on the clock and see how well our guests can go through the gauntlet of 10 trivia questions, some accounting-based, some pure nonsense, and see how they do. Ben, how are you feeling about your chances?
Well, I grew up watching Family Feud, so I'm familiar with the fast money concept, but we'll see. I always feel like I would have done a great job, but I guess we're putting that to the test right now.
Well, and we don't want to get sued by anyone. This is not fast money.
Not fast money, Fast Figures.
Entirely novel concept over here.
About answering questions quickly. And those aren't even always numbers. So totally, completely different thing.
There we go.
And we got to be better hosts than Steve Harvey, right?
I don't know. Steve's in the Hall of Fame, man. Steve's amazing.
He's pretty amazing. I feel like he works in innuendo better than I do even.
Maybe you can get Steve as the next guest after us.
You got time, Jeremy. You got something to build to. All right, Ben. Let's put a minute-ish on the clock. Ben, your time starts now. What IRS W form provides taxpayer identification number and certification to other entities?
W-9.
How many liters are in a traditional German Stein?
1.
How many GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, are there?
Oh gosh. It depends.
In the cult classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off, how many times does Ben Stein say the name Bueller when calling roll?
Okay, let's see. I'm going to say 4.
What is the dollar amount penalty the IRS imposes on a business for intentionally disregarding filing a 1099 in this coming year, 2024?
I'm pretty sure 250.
Meeting software Zoom has added a new AI summary tool, which costs its users how much extra on top of their current paid plan?
0.
How many points is a try worth in rugby?
Okay. 6.
Within 5, how many weeks in a row has Keeper posted a product update on their canny page?
How many weeks in a row on our canny page? Because we didn't always do it on our canny page. I guess we launched our canny in early 22, and now it's late 23. So I'm going to guess 80.
Yeah. How many Super Bowls did Big Ben Roethlisberger win for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
2.
PayPal announced it has released a new stablecoin that will be called PayPal USD and will be redeemable for how many US dollars?
Hopefully 1.
All right, Ben. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of impressed. How are you feeling after that?
Kenny is going to be mortified if I got to try one wrong. So I know it's 5 or 6, but we'll see.
I know there's a reason why I put it in there.
Oh,
it's too good.
I love out of all of them, that's the one you're focused on right away. I better got that rugby question right or Kenny's going to be pissed.
I do live with the guy, so I can't really escape the wrath.
That's right.
All right. So question number 1, what is the IRS W form that provides taxpayer identification number and certification to other entities? You said W-9. And as you should know, Keeper, I would say this was the feature you guys implemented that brought me over from the dark side to use your software. For those of you who don't know, I met Ben at BKX 2021, and for 6 months, I told him his software was not good enough for me until one day he rolled out this amazing feature where you can automatically start requesting W-9s and manage your whole 1099 process. Almost like it simplified everything. Ben, would you like to expand on that feature?
Yeah, really, I mean, the entire idea is screening for missing documentation and requesting that documentation in one single flow that you can run every single month. So what we see a lot of folks normally do as part of their 1099 process is you're downloading a spreadsheet of some like vendors by spend report. So you don't really trust the stuff that's coming natively out of the accounting software. And then you're like tweaking and modifying numbers. And then ultimately you end up with a list that you start annotating in cells. And then you start firing off manual emails to all of the vendors where you may not have their W-9. So we just felt like that process could be put entirely on Rails, turbocharged and automated if we put it into Keeper. And so that's what we did.
Well, I mean, the IRS makes it hard enough to do this process and so many gray areas that if you can make it easy, like actually doing it, it's a blessing. And it is.
Question 2, being that we had Ben Stein on the show, how many liters are in a traditional German Stein of beer? You said 1. And Ben Stein, you are correct. 1 liter of beer in a Stein. I mean, you can put whatever you want in there, but let's face it. That's what it's meant for.
All right, I'm riding high.
Yeah, take it. You're riding 2 for 2 for the moment. Next question. How many gap principles are there? I know you said it depends, because it does, but I'm going to give you another shot at this. Key principles, the ones that are always advertised.
4?
So they advertise the base 10 principles. I don't even think I could list them all off the top of my head. I mean, permanence of method, continuity, matching, Jeremy, you said. I just thought this one was great because for those of you that haven't listened to the audio clip, I don't want to get political. I'm not talking about anything, but the Trump trial and Don Jr., when asked what are generally accepted accounting principles, and he said,
well, I'm not an accountant, but that they are generally accepted.
Anything else?
That's pretty much what I remember from Accounting 101. So.
Have you told me everything you know about GAAP?
Basically, I'm sure I could come up with some creative stuff to kill time, but I'd be doing neither of us a favor in terms of educating ourselves.
And that's it. And it's like, that is the most honest business owner answer.
One of my customers used a line I have shamelessly stolen and then forgotten who used it originally. Actually, it's Andrew Berg. So Andrew, if you're listening, I appreciate this. I use it all the time. Says we run our books on a system I like to call baby GAAP. So it's like we do most accruals for most things, but then we still run payroll to cash. So we're not audited yet, but we do definitely do matching and consistency and at least 2 or 3 of the 10, I think.
And this is where I love this audio clip just because it shows what most of our clients are like. Where like they know the financials should be right, but they don't know what goes into it. And so I don't know. I love this clip because most operations expert, this is the same thing you're going to find at companies across the board. And this is what your clients are like. So I absolutely love that clip. Just had to share it out there.
I feel like if you wanted to like expand on it, should have went to the Billy Madison business ethics thing and just started pulling out a book, Dr. Seuss book, and going into it.
All of us are now dumber for having to listen to that.
Yes.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. In the cult classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off, how many times does Ben Stein say the name Bueller? You said 4. Well done, sir.
Yeah. Impressive.
Watched it enough times.
That is
All right.
amazing.
What is the dollar amount penalty the IRS imposes on a business for intentionally disregarding filing a 1099? You said $250? I'm sorry. So there's a near $300 fee if it's after August, but if they can prove you intentionally disregard it, it is $630 an offense.
What is it if you didn't intentionally do it, but you just missed the 1099?
So this coming year, because the fees went up this year, it is $310. Last year it was $290 after August.
All right. Well, we'll make sure we're good about filing our 1099s this year.
But this is why we need stuff like Keeper that helps us avoid that. And this is why if you want to convince your clients of the value you add, this is a scare tactic I use to sell clients of like, you do not want to miss this. Look at the dollar amount. I have told you this is required. So now if they can prove that you knew about this, it is $630 an offense. 10 of these, it's $6,000. I use this all day, and Keeper helps me deliver on that scare tactic promise I give to my clients.
But that's an important thing. That's per form.
Per form.
Yeah. Okay. It's huge.
Meeting software Zoom has added a new AI summary tool, which costs its user how much on top of its current paid plan? You said 0. And Ben, you are the person that introduced me to Fathom, which was an app that went over the top of Zoom. But now this new feature, have you played around with it?
I have not had the chance to, no. And I still use Fathom. My team has actually moved to Gong, which is like eye-wateringly expensive, but does some crazy stuff on top that's like very purpose-built for sales and customer success. And so it's like amazingly expensive and worth it kind of software. So I haven't had a chance to play around with it.
I think the thing here that blows my mind is it took Zoom this long to catch up with what so many competitors were doing on top of their software, but they're finally, catching the boat way late. Next question. How many points is a try worth in rugby?
Oh, no.
You said 6. The correct answer is 5.
Oh, I knew it was 5 or 6, but that doesn't do me much good here.
And for those of you who aren't aware, Ben started this company with his co-founder, Kenny. And what is Kenny's favorite pastime, Ben?
It's so much more than a pastime, but rugby rules are so confusing.
Okay, what is his passion?
His passion is rugby.
So there you go. We are starting an internal business marriage feud today with this audio drop.
And I played rugby all through high school, so I was pulling for you here.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Irredeemable.
It's a great sport.
3 more questions. Within 5, how many weeks in a row has Keeper posted a product update? You said 80. But let's put this as a win for you. You were at 95 consecutive weeks of advertising to your customers an update. You are this close to hitting the 100 mark.
Wow. That's awesome. I didn't realize that because this is like it's just how the tool has changed. We have done weekly updates every week since February of 21. So it goes even further back than that. But wow, cool. I'll have to do something to celebrate our 100th change log.
Absolutely. Jeremy, we'll have to come up with something to post on our channels for that. There we go.
Yeah.
How many Super Bowls did Ben Roethlisberger for the Steelers win? You said 2. And well done, not only being a Ben yourself, but knowing that your entire family, you are how many generations deep of steel manufacturers?
So my great-grandfather ran a scrapyard, and then his father before that ran a blacksmith in Russia. And we don't know anything further beyond that back than that. But so at least 4 or 5 generations.
Impressive.
Yeah.
And lastly, but not least, PayPal has announced its new stablecoin this summer, which is going through a whole lot of SEC investigation right now. How much is that stablecoin worth per US dollar? You said $1. And you better hope so, because stable coins, by their name, should be pegged to a currency, but that's not always the case.
They say you remember your like losses more than your wins after a certain period of time. And I think I did pretty well, but I think screwing up the number of points in a rugby try is going to be what you take away from this fast figures session.
I'm still impressed. 6 out of 10. You are right in the wheelhouse of where Jeremy and we live in the land of mediocrity, and you are welcome to vacation here whenever you want.
Hey, 6 out of 10 rounds up.
That's right. Nice work.
Well, and with that sound, it is now halftime, the time when we head to the benches and pop out a little snack midway through the game. And Ben, we get to have a snack on Keeper today. Would you like to do the honors of just throwing out how great this software is?
Sure. Any particular piece you want me to cover in depth?
I would love, as people scale their firm, it is so hard to manage the task, the time, and the communication of the client all in one place while managing a team as you start handing it off. Because so many firm owners start their business just doing it themselves, and then eventually they need to bring in help. And having everything there ready to hand off and yet manage that staff, that's where I think you guys become brilliant. But I mean, freestyle it. Jeremy will drop a beat if you'd like. Hit us with the magic that is Keeper.
So I think the way I've always liked to describe Keeper is you come for the tools, you stay for the workflow. And I think in some deep fundamental sense, that's really important to what Keeper is. So theoretically, you can use Keeper that's like pure workflow and client communications only with no ledger connection. But really the value comes from the integration that we have to the ledger that supports great tooling to actually help do your work more efficiently, which means that your team is working in your workflow software, which means that your workflow software is going to more accurately represent the state of your business. Because at the end of the day, if you just have a workflow tool that's not connected to the work that you need to do, and especially for our customers, you end up doing bookkeeping for your bookkeeping work. So you got to go like code transactions from the bank feed and then go check off the task that says code transactions from the bank feed. Whereas in Keeper, because we're so deeply coupled to the ledger, instead of having a task that says, ask your client about uncategorized suspense transactions or remind your client about uncategorized suspense transactions, you have that same task in Keeper, but you click it open and there's your suspense transactions and you ask for them. And then your reminders are automatically taken care of until your clients respond. So we can streamline and automate that work. That's kind of that first base layer. And then we can flow all of that up so that as a firm owner, firm manager, you can see what's getting done, what's running behind, and what needs to get actioned on.
One of the things I think is brilliant is your guys' direct integration with the accounting software, because so often there's this copy and paste. What's this? Okay, they responded. Let's copy it back. Let's download the file and upload it. In copy paste data transposition, it's a matter of time until there's an error. So making it so hard for me and my staff to have an error between talking with the client and back to the books has saved us so much time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you've gone over it in the beginning a little bit more and all the things. I think the things you didn't talk about is the reporting aspect. We all know QuickBooks reporting sucks, right? And it's impossible, right? So just to have a functional reporting tool there is amazing. And then also like pricing, right? $8 to $10 a client per month. If you spend 10 minutes, right, doing these one things over and over, you're already paying for the tool. So like right there's the value. And then listening to the customers, right? Like I have not had any other app that has done as well as you guys have on actually listening, being very apparent with your playbook or your development track, all that, and saying like, yes, please give us all the feedback, and really connecting with your clients and your listeners to develop the best tool possible.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. And I will say, like, the reason we do that is because we're building it for y'all. Like, we don't have this kind of like pie in the sky. This is what we're building for. You can like get on board with that vision, or you can go somewhere else. But really, we try to not have this super deep baked in roadmap for the next 2 years, because it lets us listen to our customers. It lets us be flexible, and it lets us make sure that, and this comes back to, it's a place where you're supposed to actually do that work, that we can actually go all the way down to the lowest levels of fidelity to solving those pain points, as opposed to just like pitching this big vision that looks really good on a sales call, but falls flat the moment you actually try to force your team to use the thing.
Well, and dare I say, like, there are two big things that really drive home the point to me that you guys care about us. First, it's the fact y'all are growing. No one would be signing up for your software and using it if it wasn't that amazing. And Jeremy and I met you summer of 2021, and to today, it was you and Kenny at a booth without any branding, and now you're a staff of 34 with a massive space at QuickBooks Connect. Like, you guys have grown. The only way that happens is because people adopt it. And the other thing I want to call out, as far as you guys listening to your customers and being able to grow, is this software didn't even, like, you and Kenny didn't set out to build a close process. You guys started out with a reporting software, but all the reporting was shite because there was not good things in place to close the books. And so you listened to your customers and built everything they needed to at least have good books in the first place. Like, you pivoted your entire business just to listen to your customers.
That's what we have always done. It's what we always continue to do. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say. And we're grateful that our customers will give us feedback. And we really try to encourage it, because I know it's so easy to just feel like you're shouting into the void when you see something that you don't like. But it's why we encourage our customers constantly to give us feedback, is because we really do try and listen.
Well, if anyone wants to sign up for a demo of Keeper, we'll have a link in the show notes. You can use the discount code UNPOD to get a discount on your subscription as you sign up. And Ben, any other parting words or, wisdom you'd like to share? Because this podcast is relatively void of wisdom most of the time.
What I would say is, if you take nothing else away from this podcast, let it be that there are 5 points in a try.
Just digging yourself out of that hole.
That's right. Oh, I love it. Well,
all right. Well, Ben,
an honor to have you, sir, with us as always. And hopefully we will see you at QuickBooks Connect next week now. Oh man, yeah.
I will see you there. Yeah, we'll be there in less than a week.
I mean, by the time this drops, we're actually saying, Ben, it was great to see you by the time everyone's listening to it. So it was great, man.
Awesome. Well, pleasure seeing y'all all. I'll be happy to go and try and redeem myself on any future calls that you'll have me on.
We'll get you back at some point, or get Kenny on, see how it goes.
Yeah, ask him. My high school sport was wrestling, but he also wrestled too, so he probably has a little bit more.
We'll find a way to put him on the shame train.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Well, Jeremy, our next game that we're playing today is bringing back a good old classic, Fact or Fake. I have 3 questions for you this week on a certain topic that is going to become very relevant, I feel, in the upcoming months. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
All right. So, for those of you that aren't aware, from the 2021 Corporate Transparency Act, which was passed by Congress with bipartisan support, the Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network, which sometimes is referred to as FinCEN, is going to begin requiring BOI reporting. Jeremy, have you heard of BOI, or beneficial ownership information?
No, I've heard of BO, but not BOI.
As you have a lot of that. BOI, which is going to begin requiring beneficial ownership information.
Okay.
True or false, beginning January 1st, 2024.
I'm going to say I have no idea here, but let's go with true.
Yes, Jeremy. So this is one that I feel like is just going to come up hot and quick on everybody. That beginning 2024, FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, is going to start requiring this. And it's a whole anti-money laundering effort by the U.S. government to at least know who the beneficiaries are of every single registered company. What's interesting about it is any company that has been created before 2024, you have until January 1st, 25 to report the information. If you start a company in 2024, you have 30 days to enter the info.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so this is trying to, like we talked about, even the Sam Friedman thing where there was so much of interconnected ownership, right? So really try to get clarity around that on who really is benefiting from this.
Who's benefiting, and just, they tout the whole thing as an anti-money laundering scheme, for lack of a better word, initiative. That's probably a better term for a government thing. By the way, FinCEN, I feel like, is the worst name for a government agency. Hear me out, because we have law enforcement in our country. And what do they enforce, Jeremy?
I'm going to go with the laws, Tyler.
You are correct, sir. So what does the Financial Crime Enforcement Agency enforce?
Enforces financial crime?
Right? It's like when people come to you and say they're raising money for childhood obesity, and you want to ask, like, you mean to end childhood obesity, right? Like, we're not trying to fund this, are we? I feel like their name doesn't do them justice.
And I feel like the Space Force could probably compete with us too. I've never quite gotten on board with that one.
That's fair. Jeremy, question number 2. True or false, banks and insurance companies are the only ones exempt from this reporting requirement?
banks and insurance companies. I'm going to say false.
You are correct. There are 23 different types of organizations that are going to be exempt from this reporting requirement. The thing that might excite you, Jeremy, is number 19, tax-exempt entities, aka all your nonprofit clients are going to be exempt from this. You lucky son of a gun.
Yeah, that's fantastic because, yeah, you'd have to like go to their board and look the whole makeup there. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't think with banks that they could be excluded because I feel like that is one higher risk area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, banks, there's also like venture capital firms. And interestingly enough, number 15 is accounting firms. But there's hoops you have to go through. Like it basically says it has to be a registered CPA firm under certain criteria. And so like it has a checklist if you qualify. My bookkeeping firm will not qualify. But there's other interesting ones in here as far as inactive entities, insurance companies, public utilities, pooled investment vehicles, a whole lot of interesting things that will not have to abide by these rules. Last question for you, Jeremy. Companies, true or false, will only have to report the age and wage of the beneficial owner.
That sounds false.
Correct. They will have to submit the name, date of birth, residential address, and an identifying number with backup, such as a driver's license, passport, anything like that. I do not see any requirements to actually how much they are benefiting from the business.
Do you think they sell this information? Like, we're going to compile all these people's addresses and things, and we're going to put it on lists that we can then sell out to everybody so that pens.com sends me thousands of things in the mail.
I don't know, but something's going to happen with that data. There's going to be one analyst that has the bright idea. They're like, well, we've got all this data. How about we do this with it?
Yeah, that's rough. Ooh.
Well done, sir. I am incredibly impressed. This is one of those topics that I don't feel like we need to dive in on yet, but I think it's going to become very important in the coming months. And especially, you know how when the ERC or anything else came out, there were all these pop-up firms that wanted to sell you the services of doing it for you. I wouldn't be surprised if things like ADP, Gusto, QuickBooks even, like anyone that's involved with your finances, all of a sudden wants to take care of this for you for maybe an outrageous fee when it sounds like it's a rather small amount of data to submit. So don't be intimidated, folks. From everything I can see so far, it's relatively low effort.
Yeah, and I feel like the organizations that help set businesses up will put this like scare tactic out here, like, hey, you need to do this information. We can do it for you, and it's only this low price and all that. But
$120. We just need 4 lines of info, and we'll take care of it.
That's right. Cool. One last thing to talk about today. So we are in the season of giving thanks. I personally am thankful for one Ben Stein and being in his presence today. However, when we get to this time, we think about our clients as business owner and how we can portray our thanks for them, for their support and continued business that we have with them. So just more, maybe not as much of a game show format, but just kind of an inquiry on your thoughts on the best way or timing to give out gifts to clients or potentially other people, right? So let's start with timing. So if you think about giving appreciation gifts to your clients, do you do that when you sign them? Do you do that at the holidays as well? Do you do that at random times as well? What are your thoughts?
I have a big opinion on this because a lot of people give out holiday gifts.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I'm already getting cards from my realtor and my dentist and everyone else. And so a card means nothing to me during the holidays. Yeah. Maybe a small gift if I like it, but most often there's not a lot of gifts you get from companies where I'm like, that's awesome. I'm so excited. So we tend to skimp on the holidays, but we go hard after birthdays. Like we go really hard after what is unique to you, the owner of the business, that like it really shows A, we've done our homework, and B, like we value you. Holidays are huge, or like, you know, my assistant stalks several of our clients or their spouses on social media. We know when they're having kids. We know when they won an award. And so we send commemorations for those big events because it shows, hey, we're invested, we care. And plus, your staff usually knows if some of those big milestones are coming up, like they're having a kid, because they tell you, hey, I'm probably not going to be available to reach much for a month or so, you know, as kid number 3 comes along.
I believe your assistant is Kate, correct?
Correct.
Was stalking in her job description when you hired her? She's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I was just wondering if that was one of the job description items.
First of all, Kate is awful. No one should ever want to hire her.
Right.
If she ever applies for your company, say no. You're stuck at Specialty Bookkeepers for the rest of your existence. So no, Jeremy, please do not talk her up to anyone in the world.
Done.
I hope she knows how much she's appreciated. But to answer your question, I mean, that's kind of, that was kind of in the job description, is like, help make sure we appreciate everyone in the business. And she does an amazing job at it.
Yeah, and I think like what you said is amazing, right? It sets you apart from everyone else. Like, who else is doing this? Finding out their birthdays, amazing events, things like that. We are actually having a discussion on our team that depending on your state, and if you're a nonprofit, you need to engage in like a review or an audit. And that is not something historically that we have done a really good job at tracking, saying like, hey, now you need to get engaged with an accounting firm for this. My senior account manager, who's amazing, said, oh, we need to tell them that. Do we just go, we should send them a card saying, congrats on this new revenue level that you've reached. Also, by the way, you need an account engagement for like $7,000 now.
Is that like when your doctor says, congratulations on reaching 40, you need a colonoscopy?
Yeah, right. Probably like equal. Those are very similar things, the audit and the colonoscopy, right?
They are. And I don't know which one's more painful. One of them you get drugs, you get sedatives for.
That's
so
true. But both ways you're looking for crap, right? Yeah. So I think that's awesome. We do small things for the holidays and need to up our game too for other special things. The nonprofit world's a little harder because you don't have that one person. Sometimes it's the executive director. Sometimes it's many people on the board. So it's hard to nail down that one person sometimes. However, the other day I did get a card for participating at a fundraiser, and I pull it out of the envelope and glitter everywhere. Nothing drives me more crazy than a glitter card.
What did you do wrong with this client? Why do they hate you so much?
I don't know, but I was like, no, please don't send me glitter.
Wow.
So what about, so you talked about these gifts that you give them. You try to get as personal as possible. Like, give me a good example of what you thought, like this gift we gave this client was super on point, and like their appreciation level was amazing.
So one of our clients, they pay us a lot of money. And so for their anniversary of working with us, which is also relatively close to their anniversary date of the couple that owned it, we wanted to get them something they love. They are big world travelers and they love those maps where they can track what they did. But we also knew the locations of, because of social media, where they got engaged and where they got married. So it came with those pins already in those locations, flagged as like important moments to them.
They didn't think you were creepy?
No.
Oh, nice. I like it. Yeah, I had a teammate actually get me as a thankful gift, like these etched glasses with my hometown on it, which was like awesome. Like just like this nice whiskey sized glass tumbler thing that has like your hometown on it. I thought that was a really creative one, and did some research, and like really reasonable for that too. If you know somebody has amazing hometown pride as well.
One of our clients, it was this last August. The example I gave is because it's very relevant. Client had their first kid this last August. We got onesies with University of Utah football logos on them because we know that client really loves college football here in Utah. And so, yeah, send that out and just like, hey, congratulations. Let us know how we can help and hope you get some time away.
So if too, like communicating these things, you can't always send gifts and things like that. What do you think is the right, if you're going to reach out to them and congratulate them on an event and not sending a gift, what's the right medium? Do you email? Do you call them? Text? What do you think?
My gut reaction is either a carrier pigeon or a man on a horse with a scroll that just like reads it. Otherwise, I mean, you can kind of get away with it even doing a month-end review video, but just starting out with like, hey, we are so excited for you. You show that genuine interest on your face. And then you also say it in the month-end financial email. Like, hey, we just want to take a moment and call out how excited we are for you guys. Congratulations. Even just acknowledging it in email goes a long way.
Yeah, I agree. And, when we get back to the card aspect too, anything handwritten, right? A couple people on our team that like, hey, we're going to send out cards to people for the holidays and probably put something else in it too. But I would love to personalize this to them because I know these things and I'm like, yep, absolutely. Let's do that. Yeah.
I mean, we send out handwritten cards that no one handwrites. We pay a service to handwrite them. And I think we pay like $5 a card, and great.
Yeah, I thought it's a good time to just talk about it. And again, if you're the firm owner, how do you get this to be special for your clients? Whether it's this time of year, another time, how do you give thanks?
I love it. Great conversation. Well, and to our listeners, if you have any like super hacks on just amazing resources or services to get gifts out there, we'd love to hear them. Like, we'll highlight them on the episode. Write in, tell us. Go to unaccountable.co and leave a message after the beep. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we're not that smart, so like we want your ideas.
Jeremy, it is my pleasure to announce this week's winner, which is every single Relay user. I don't know if you saw their most recent update, but they now have included a field at the top of every bank account when you log in that shows your total balance, how much money's in your bank account, but your available balance as well. So looking at things like transactions in progress, let's say something was on the debit card but is going to clear in 2 days and it's not out, but maybe checks that you've issued through Relay as well. They're in the mail, they're on their way, or the client's sitting on them for 20 days and not depositing it. It's going to show your balance minus all those checks. So if you've issued 6 rent payments to all your clients' locations, and yes, it says they have 80K, but 40 of that is about to be deducted at any moment when the vendor clears the check in their bank account, you can see your available balance. And it doesn't just stop and say 0. It'll show you how negative you are if you have overspent. So now you can go move funds around and make sure you're covered. This is a huge update for making sure business owners don't shoot themselves in the foot.
Including the unaccountable team. No, this is huge. Yeah, and like I would assume you'd have to use their check writing or bill pay process for that to all be accurate, right? But just having that visibility is something that's missing out there. And who hasn't had their client ask them that? Well, like, wait, I know there's things out there. What's my real balance? And you're like, I don't know. Or you have to like go dig through the register in QuickBooks or put a bunch of data together. So yeah, that's a cool thing that they added there.
Loser of the week. I don't know if you saw this article. We'll include it in our show notes for the listener. But I am going to award this week's loser of the week to Deloitte auditors. There is a great article in Going Concern about a group of auditors who got caught changing the clocks on their computers so that they could get around the time lock on closed periods to change work papers, documents that were part of audits, because the computer had it locked, but they found if they changed the computer date, they could get around it, and they got caught.
Wow, that is super shady. Full marks for creativity. I would not have thought of that, but wow, like the whole point of you being an auditor should be a high level of control and what's the word I'm thinking, like integrity, right? Mm-hmm. And for you to go like make that distinct effort to like skirt the rule and make that change, super shady. Wow.
And the crazy thing is, it says, so they're going to be paying around $1.15 million in US dollars, because this was Ontario, Canada, where they got caught. So 1.15 USD, 930 audit work papers were backdated in at least 39 audit engagements.
Not even like an isolated incident then, right? Like clearly part of their culture to do it. And somebody figured it out and be like, oh, I have this mistake. Well, guess what we can do? Hack, time back, go. Oh, man, awful.
Yeah, at 930 offenses at least, it's no longer someone did something, like a quick little fix. Instead, now it's like an SOP they have written.
Yeah, right. Here's our shady SOP of the week. Get around that timestamp.
Well, Jeremy, that's all the time we have for this week, but we will be at QuickBooks Connect next week. So looking forward to talking to some vendors. We have some awards we're going to be giving out and maybe a nugget of wisdom or two.
Let's not raise the bar too high here, Tyler, but we will be there. You a little longer than I, but yeah, looking forward to seeing you in person.
Sir, until next time, you have a good weekend.
You too. I'm not going through the whole one this one. Love it.